Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We have returning guest and fellow brother, Mr. Mark Z. Good to have him back from a short summer hiatus. So we're glad to have him back at this most critical time. All things reset, of course, financial, which is his milieu, among other things. And we'll be having our normal deep dive discussion. If you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. It helps the channel grow and others to gain. And the knowledge you're currently being afforded, as you know, Mark has one of the shortest bios in history. Father, friend, brother, Christian, podcaster, entrepreneur, and truther, and we are always honored to have him on to get his perspective. How are you doing today, good sir?
Absolutely no complaints. I did miss last month with the whole summer hiatus thing. It's good to get back into the regular rhythm.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So, as the esteemed guest, I will turn it over to you. I know everybody's anxious to get your thoughts. Where do you see us at present?
Let's see, that's a great one. If you're looking for just following Iraq, it gets pretty easy. You see agreements, open conversations about settling HCL, uh, even some leaked photos of some new lower denominations, not remakes of the old ones. Everything looks great on that front. We just need a time for these blessings so that we can move forward with all the humanitarian work we want to do. On the fundamental side, had some really great conversations with some important people. Andy Scheckman, one of those, just shameless plug if you guys are interested in metals info at Miles Franklin. Let them know, Jon Dowling. He's just a wonderful friend of both of ours.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the fundamentals. And then we have a Russian aide pointing out that Russia says, hey, look, US is tying to a stable coin type setup with gold backed currency so they can revalue gold. It's becoming, you can't hide this anymore. The big money makers, the big market makers have now finally figured out what we've been telling you and I, John, for years. It's
Mm.
it's kind of refreshing.
It is. And, these guys have been, you got to remember, Andy, as you know better than I do, a lot of these guys, Andy, Lynette, so forth, they've been in the Keynesian system for so long. So that's what they grew up in. I think you do a really good job of helping people to understand, along with others, that everything correlates. So as metals go, it flows into currencies and cryptos and bonds and all these other instruments. A lot of people see them as disparate, but you and I see them as what they are, conjoined.
It's dynamic. It's one of the major flaws with Keynesian. They think that the economy's static. You do one thing and it's going to behave the same way every time. But the economy's made up of people, individuals, workers, spenders. It's far more dynamic than that. It's kind of like a living, breathing thing. Uh,
Yeah,
More people just need to go study the Bible about what's money.
that's a great point. We could just full stop right there with just that.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
yeah.
right. So I'll turn it over to you. I gave you screen share for some of the articles. I have some stuff to show you afterwards as well. So the floor is
I
yours.
had and let's see. I'm going to hit the share screen. I am ready on that front. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, sir. I see it anyway. Hope they do as
Okay,
well.
perfect. SOMO announcing the termination of contracts with Kurdish oil companies. One of the big hangups we have had in Iraq for some time has been settling that out so they can start pumping oil from the Kurdish region HCL laws. This one, I don't think people understand just how big a news story these are. From expansions of refineries, more pipelines, another pipeline through Syria, Development Road. Iraq is exploding, but the fun part is that HCL. Let's get to the Kurdish region because it is so important. I was told many years ago, guys, like many years ago, when 140 HCL laws and the oil was pumping, that within days we would be there. And we are seeing all of these changes. Sudani laid us out a framework 2 years ago, told us what they were going to 3 years, 2 years ago, laying out a framework, the changes and the reforms they needed to make so that they could do two things: make the dinar the father of the dollar again and restore it to its former glory as the most valuable currency in the world, lift purchasing power of all Iraqis. And we have just watched him. He's just been checking it off like a pre-flight checklist for a pilot. Boom, 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 and here we are with the last few check marks going in. I'm very comfortable with where we're at. I know many people are suffering, and we're seeing it out there in the world, the pills, the poverty, the desperation from many, I'll call them westernized countries, European countries, desperate to cause division or cause a world war because they know their time is done.
Yeah,
We're
and
winning.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we're winning. That's just it. I just want to make
Yeah,
certain people know we are winning.
may not, excuse me, it may not seem like it, but we indeed are winning. Absolutely. And we're not supposed to go by how things look physically, but spiritually, back to your point about the Bible. One of the things I was encouraged with, Mark, I was going to ask you at some point in this conversation anyway, it seems as good as time as any, is we're coming in next week. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think the 21st on the current calendar is fall. Is that right? Typically,
Yes.
typically it is. So we're coming into that Kim Clement period. They will fall in the fall. We saw Redford announced died today. There's going to be a lot more deaths and resignations. Not that we're certainly praying for death for anyone. That's not the point. It's just that these are demarcations of the old guard, symbolic, if you will. We're coming into that where things seem at their worst period. They will fall in the fall by Kim Clement. And that, I guess, at this juncture, given how long the attrition process, to your point, has been, I think is an encouragement for where things, lie ahead. And I just want to get your take on that.
No, I agree because you are like every beginning is an end, every end is a beginning, and we're at that period. You're watching a changing of the guard, and kind of like your point with Charlie Kirk, he was leading that change of guard,
Right.
or a key part of it. We're seeing a massive change as we move from the old guard to the new guard. We see sanity returning. Common sense is surprisingly becoming a little more common. It's still a rare thing, but it's becoming a little more common as we leave this movie stage behind and we start looking to see what is real. And I just encourage more people at this stage, put your eyes on what's real. That's God. God's real. He's the truth. Put your eyes right there because they're going to try to get you to look everywhere but there.
Yeah, and they're trying. The only playbook that Satan has is the typical copycat fear porn playbook. Keep us stuck in the past, trying to remember where we were. We need to remind Satan of his future, and it's a bleak one, right? And he's not part of where we're going. That the enemies hold on their coattails at the end, but they always get summarily chopped off. And you mentioned Andy, and yes, he is a good mensch for sure. But I bring him up because what he does with metals. There are a lot of people out there. I see the comments about, well, we don't have money to buy metals. We don't have this. We don't have that. I get that. We've touched on this before, but what people have to remember in those situations is that A, we're not unsympathetic. Number two, you brought up humanitarian projects. You could call it that. You could call it kingdom projects, whatever the classification you want to use. You and I have said this before, and I think it bears repeating, Mark, that I know my audience, your audience, one in the same accord, and many out there who are coming, would be followers, would be Christians, would be investors, whatever the case may be, are going to have a desire and a strong concerted effort to give back to the poor, the lonely, the needy, the hungry, the widows, the orphans. And I think about people in hospitals by themselves, staring out a window, feeling like nobody loves them, and that's not true. A lie from the enemy. So I want to encourage those people who feel like they're in lack right now. Help is on the way.
And that's very important because there are so many humanitarian minded people, even if you don't own currency, have some great investment, don't have, pounds of gold or silver sitting by. I know you have great hopes, expectations to do a lot of ministry work. I know I want to make certain that there isn't a homeless person, that there isn't somebody going to bed hungry, unless it's their own choice. I mean, it is very in vogue now to skip meals, but it's a different story when it's forced on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything is by consent, right? Free will. Everything that we're learning now about this movement beyond the money part, the truth, the awakening, is they could. I mean, the cabal puts out the codes all the time. They can only do that with our consent, and God gave us that free will for a reason, even to pick Him. So we can unchoose the evil as much as we subconsciously chose it through brainwashing and inculcation. And like you said, we don't want to see anybody go homeless or hungry or anything like that, but you can also interfere with people's free will. I mean, there are for whatever reason, and it's not my place, but there are some people who I don't understand it, but again, I don't need to. Some people like to be homeless. They feel there's less of a burden on them. They don't have to have an overhead, but they've also either maybe I don't know, maybe they had wealth at one time and they lost it. Maybe they're afraid to acquire it again, or maybe they've never had it and are unfamiliar with it. So we're all going to be learning together in this new season how to reimagine the future and how to help each other accordingly.
It's going to be a very interesting time, as we do go through that. And you're right, a lot of homeless people don't want a home. Vast majority would like a safe home.
Of course. But again, there's always exceptions. You just want to accommodate people's free will and just empower them in whatever way, So.
That is so important because free will, God gave us free will. What is the goal? We look at these over authoritarian governments, their goal is to take away your free will. You should push to be sovereign. God made us sovereign. He made us creators in his image, which means we're here, we're built, we're wired, engineered to create, to make things better. Father Lies definitely trying to throw us a curve on that one, but we know better. You got to keep claiming that abundance.
Absolutely. I'm going to share a quick story with you before we go to all the other articles and so forth that people want to see. When I first moved here in 2008 and I found my church in 2009, one of the elders of the church was really intent on helping the homeless. He would make this little sort of makeshift U-Haul cart. He'd fill it with food and clothes and shoes and that sort of thing. So we would run a monthly, food and clothing bank drive. He'd give away stuff you're not wearing. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Got to clean it out anyway. It's good for everybody. So a lot of times we give stuff away to, Goodwill or Salvation Army or our church, and you never see the other side of it. What becomes of those clothes? Who benefits from it, in other words? And his name was Vince, God rest his soul. He passed about 10 years ago. And it's not that I by any means didn't have a heart for the homeless. It just wasn't like my number one thing, but I liked him so much. I said, let me go support him. So I showed up that morning, Saturday morning, come to the church, 6:00, put the bags, the lunches together, that kind of thing, simple stuff. Load up the truck, get out to Venice Beach. Everybody knows Venice Beach, 7:30 in the morning. And you start, bringing out the cart and, you say, hey, brother, what do you need? Sister, what do you need? You start pulling stuff out of the cart, clothes, shoes, whatever. This one guy really got me. I saw my shoes, my dress shoes, go to him. He was a size 12 like me. And I saw the look on his face when those shoes fit. And the tears of relief of just having something we take for granted every day, footwear. We take that stuff, not everybody, but it's easy to take it for granted what we have, the clothes, all that stuff. And you saw a whole new perspective through this man's eyes. The thing that he valued the most were socks. And because we used to get these donations for socks. I'm like, what's the deal with socks? Why that? I don't know how it is for every single homeless encampment. I just know this particular story. And he said to me, because socks are gold here. I said, yeah, but why? He said, because oftentimes by the beach, it gets cold at night. People will steal your socks. You have a commissary room or you have a little, a makeshift place to put your stuff. People will steal the socks. Socks are like food here. And so a lot of times, they have to walk barefoot. You're walking on concrete that might have glass or God knows what objects on it. And the socks are the only barrier between that and the outside world. A simple thing like socks that we take for granted means so much to someone else. And it really changed my heart and perspective about gratitude. Even in the lack, there's gratitude. How important that is. And I'm in a genuine sense, Mark, to not take for granted the things that we have every day, because it's so easy to do. The enemy wants us caught up in entitlement and gimme. But if we start with that simple premise, we show God that he can trust us as, to whom much is given, much is required. It really opened up my eyes. So just wanted to share that quick story with you.
No, I enjoyed that one. All right. What kind of articles, what kind of things are your community pushing to learn on? What's of interest for them right now?
I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's similar in tone to you. What's going on with Iraq? What's going on with Vietnam? We don't hear much with that. It kind of comes and goes. We saw what was going on with Venezuela. I highlighted last week or the week before Marina Corina Machado, who seems to be the people's choice in Venezuela. She talked about on Fox. She's coming out of the foxhole, so to speak. that as Maduro is now going to be removed, they're going to bring in the proper leadership, aka her, peace, prosperity. Native Venezuelans will be able to come home again. That smacks of Jasara. So anything you have on those is fine.
Just like the latest strike overnight of another Venezuelan narco boat.
Mm-hmm.
It appears to me, and being on the island of Puerto Rico right now, we've got noticed over the weekend a considerable uptick in military personnel on the island. Of course, they landed the F-35s, amphibious assault vehicles, those things. To me, and some of my sources, there is a massive effort to make certain that Venezuela is going to be part of this financial reset in this call Nasara Jacera. Speaking of which, John, you'll appreciate this one.
Yes, sir.
Nasera. Guys, you used to be able to download this off of the U.S. government's own servers and website from the congressional servers. You could look at it. You could study it. Fortunately, a number of people did download what was there, but we're somehow supposed to forget that that's where you could find it. You could go look at the congressional record and see it. We're just supposed to play dumb. They're telling us, oh, no, that didn't happen. And so many in my community, your community, just the community in general, they saw it, they downloaded it, they have it. And that just, when you said Nasser, just reminded me, because I had it sitting here right beside me. It just showed up today. One of my long-time listeners who printed it way back when and made a copy for me. It's real.
Yeah, well, good on them for printing it out. I mean, yeah, our audiences know better. I thought it was just striking when Maria came out and said, hey, the native Venezuelans that are living elsewhere, when this is done, they'll be able to come home and live safely and prosperously. I'm like, oh my goodness, if that's not a calm, I don't know what is.
Scream calm to me.
Big time. You have anything else you want to share before I go forward? Or was that the
No, go forward.
Okay, I just didn't want to start before you were finished. Okay, this you probably already, excuse me, you probably already shared this the other day. Iraq Central Bank Governor meets Bank of England Chief, we know Barzani, showing a gold dinar, I think from the 30s. And I think this is more about sending comms about the smaller notes and coins, lower denoms, and kind of getting the world prepared for Iraq to come back to the international stage. So it's more sort of symbolic of what it represents. Does that sound about right to you?
No, absolutely. I look at it, them just putting it out shows a little hope. I had contacts in Iraq, and some months ago, they saw a cut sheet, what to expect them to look like. And the one context comment when that came out was like, okay, it's not a great picture of it, but that looks almost exactly like what they told us with security features, size, and it looks nothing like the previous $1 dinar note in the past. That should have people very excited. They're working in that direction. They're preparing for this.
Yes, and thank you for that, Mark. One other comment I want to make on the back of what you just shared is, some of the concern, it's not common, but it does come up, and I just want to, nip it in the bud. People are like, oh, well, if they're changing things, are they going to still take our notes? Yes, they will absolutely take our notes. They need it. Believe me, these banks are counting on this. This is 1% basis point on every transaction is even if whatever the number is. I don't know how many people hold currency in America, but it's in the millions. But that's plenty enough. Death by 1,000 transaction cuts. They're going to get their pound of flesh. It still beats paying any taxes on it.
And liquidity, which is very important. Without liquidity, it all stops. We can back up, though, to a JP Morgan comment. I think it was almost 2 years ago, where he said the Iraqi dinar would be the savior of our financial world.
Yeah.
Which was just a random. I mean, where did this random thought come from?
Right.
If it's still going to be 1310 or 1140, it doesn't make any sense. They have been foreshadowing for this, because I believe they have to tell us what they're doing. It's a contract. They have to expose it. It's our job to filter through all the crap, because they're going to give you way more information than you need, and only part of it's real, but there's plenty real in there, and that's what you got to focus on.
Exactly. And the one thing I would encourage your audience, the same with mine, is you have leverage. They need you as much as you need them, right? So don't be so quick to give away the farm when this thing happens. It took forever to get here. Savor it. It's like a Thanksgiving meal. You can gobble it up, or you can take your time and enjoy it and process it literally and figuratively better. But wherever you bought your currency, they buy it back too. So you have a couple different points of leverage. You can use the banks. You can also go to where you buy your currency and see what they'll give you in terms of price and service. So you have options. Leverage them. That's the point.
Yeah, you're gonna have lots of options. If you do not feel comfortable, walk out the door.
Exactly right. Exactly. Thank you for that. Okay, so let me share with you, Mark, a couple of articles I thought were interesting anyway. So tomorrow, what a coincidence, the 17th, because we know biblically there are no coincidences. They start to lower the interest rates. We think it'll be a quarter of a point, but we know Trump is going to push for more because he's going to remove the Fed optically off the cliff, like you and I have talked about many times before. He already did it in 2020. He is now, with the Senate approval he talked about today, confirms Trump's advisor Moran to Fed board. Now, this is not the Fed chair, it's a Fed board. It's a person I think is going to replace Lisa Cook when she gets cooked. And he's going to use this guy as an advocate to lower the rates. As they make a case to audit the Fed, audit Fort Knox, to show they have the gold, they'll prove to people we never needed the Fed. It's not part of the US. It's, blah, 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 blah. But our audiences already know, right? So I think this is an important event tomorrow because this has implications for the cryptos, eventually the currencies, precious metals, and of course the market. Once the market gets up above 50,000, you're going to start seeing some type of crash happen there. So there's a lot to watch with tomorrow's event. Your thoughts?
Moran's a big one. You got 7 governors on the Fed board. We keep being told that they're going to roll the Fed into the Treasury, meaning they're just going to take what they need from it and get rid of the rest, domesticate it, which is how it's supposed to be, period. So I do think it's very, very big on the Moran one because he's getting closer and closer to a majority, and we know what the goal is here. I think, watching gold, we know that they're planning on what's the word I'm looking for?
Revaluing.
Revaluing. Thank you. I'm
You're
like
good.
reading on revaluing the gold. We got to know how much is there. I think you're getting ready to see some craziness this month and into early next month from the financial front on just what they're going to expose from the Fed side, gold side, what we hold, what we don't. I'm looking for a very interesting couple of weeks ahead.
You took the words out of my mouth, brother. And also, let's not forget what tomorrow is, 2 weeks away from what? October 1st. To your point, that's the new fiscal year in the West. That's the new fiscal year, first quarter. Has major implications, particularly this year. So you're absolutely right. One other quick article. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and going back, like Kim Clement was telling us, like, this is our season for that value change. And the more I study, the more I go back, the more accurate he was.
Well, you always test the prophets, right? As I believe it's 2 Corinthians 5 or 6 talks about. I have to go back and look. Test a prophet, trust but verify if it comes to pass. And obviously, so much of what he said has come to pass. It is still continuing to do so. And that's the mark of a true prophet, to your point. So you're absolutely right. I want to show you one other article real quick, Mark. You had asked me a while ago about this question, and I wanted to try to answer it. You put me on the spot a little bit about what I felt about the Jews and so forth, and should we support them or not? And there, of course, and this is to be controversial. Let's try to answer your question. Of course, there are the true Jews and the fake Jews, and we already know that. We are supposed to support the true Israelis, but that is being certainly not, the Zionist movement and so on and so forth. But that is being rooted out, and we are going to see that truth come out, the real from the fake as well. But this is an interesting article from Vincent Kennedy on X. It's about 6 minutes long. I want to play the first 3 minutes, if you don't mind, for the audience, because I think this begins to answer or attempt to answer the question you asked me months ago. So here we go.
Why were Jews expelled more than 100 different times across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East? Well, the answer is actually a lot more complex than you think. I've been seeing a lot of content on social media lately that brings this topic up, so I think it's important to uncover the real truth. Jews are the group with the highest number of recorded mass expulsions, so is every nation against them? Or is there something we're missing here? Let's go back to one of their earliest expulsions back in ancient Rome. Jews, particularly in Rome and other Roman provinces, were known to be involved in money lending and banking. Many Jewish moneylenders were highly successful, charging high interest rates on loans. Back in late Republic Rome, a handful of big money lenders, many of them Jewish, were charging massive interest rates, sometimes up to 48% a year. When Julius Caesar, the leader of the Roman Republic, returned to Italy, he found the streets and cities crowded with homeless people. These people had been forced off the land by usurers and land monopolists. 300,000 people had to be fed daily at the public granary. Caesar saw the consequences of usury, and he knew something had to be done. From 49 to 45 BCE, Julius Caesar implemented reforms aimed at stabilizing Rome's economy. He restored property at pre-war values, granted rent remissions to struggling tenants, and distributed land to poor citizens and veterans. He also provided free housing for 80,000 families and increased soldier pay. Caesar made significant financial progress, such as reducing state debt by 25% and seizing the mint from private usurers. He capped interest rates at 1% per month, banned compound interest, and abolished debt slavery. And seriously guys, I know this is gonna blow your mind, but the aristocrats were not happy. They conspired against Caesar, and on March 15th, 44 BC, he was stabbed to death. The Zealots, a radical Jewish group that desired to overthrow Roman rule, were opposed to Caesar's influence. The resistance among Jews who were against Roman control of Judea would later fuel the Jewish revolts. The Jews aspired to be politically independent from Roman rule. They stormed the Roman military in Jerusalem and massacred the soldiers. Roman symbols were burned, and ancient sources claim that 20,000 Greek and Roman civilians were slaughtered by these Jewish rebels. They held Jerusalem for nearly 4 years until Rome finally launched a military campaign against them. In 70 CE, Roman forces under Titus destroyed Jerusalem and hundreds of thousands of Jews were killed. The survivors were enslaved or expelled. This was the start of the Jewish diaspora and the loss of their homeland. You can imagine how skeptical this would make Jews towards non-Jews. The Roman expulsion made Jewish communities more tight-knit and more committed to preserving their traditions and identity.
Okay, so there's more to it, but people can go to that article as they wish, and they can see that there. But that unpacked quite a bit, Mark, of what we were talking about.
Yes, it did. I always loved the history lessons,
Mm.
and even our founding fathers warned us against these monetary systems and usury laws. Um,
Notice where the map was in the beginning, Iraq, right in the Middle East. He
Yep.
showed you right there. So everything comes back to the center, right? Mesopotamia, the land of milk and honey. It just goes, like you said, speaking of history. So I thought that was kind of noteworthy to share with you. So that's about what I've got. Anything else on your end?
Encouraging people to stay calm. We're going to have so much information being thrown at us, from Charlie Kirk's assassination to so many other things. It could be months or years before we have all the facts, folks. I just stay calm, keep your eyes on the Lord, stay focused, say your prayers, be there for each other. I think we're going to go through a period that appears very tumultuous. I do not believe it's going to be as tumultuous as it appears. I just I want to encourage people to stay calm during this period. Don't let hate rule your day.
Exactly. Again, when things seem at their worst. Key word there. So thank you for that, Mark. Where can people find your work?
Their best bet is to come over here to your channel once a month and see when I hang out with you. But other than that, you can go to the originalmarkz.com. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch. I always feel a little dirty with Twitch. Publishing today that they're going to start going after people for hateful comments after they've been supporting some of the nastiest, violent people for the last year or two. Anyways, you can find me at Rumble, you can find me at YouTube, and you can find me on X as just original Mark Z. Not enough letters to put the original Mark Z.
Sure. And we'll leave those links as typically in the description. And folks, if you are new to our channel and whatnot, and if you have money safely, just only if you have safely enough disposable income or anything of the sort of God leads you, we do have a good sponsor of our channel for currencies, bonds, cryptos, bonds, Zim bonds, dinar, dong, Venezuelan bolivar. Wish we had the cryptos, but maybe one of these days. But certainly all the different countries and provinces housed within the world, our sponsor has access to that, safe and effective, and it's uncirculated for those who carry. It doesn't matter, you can have circulated, but if somebody who doesn't want it, we have that there for you. So it's easy to work with. You don't have to give away the farm of all your information either. So we'll leave that link in the description if you're looking to add to your cache of what you have. Mark Z, thanks for joining us, brother. We appreciate it. Thanks for the time, and look forward to catching up with you in the not too distant future.
I'm looking forward to it. And everybody out there, take care. Be blessed.
Take care. God bless.